I'm going to start.
I'm trying to sound like you. Hold on. Hey, guys. No, I can't sound like you. Hey, welcome to another episode. Am I lively enough?
I mean, I feel like it could be a little livelier, but I mean, you're the one starting the show.
Okay. Try again. I'm getting a little offended that you don't think I could do this.
For those of you guys.
Welcome to another episode of Unrelenting Pursuits.
Very good. Very good.
That's about as lively as I'm going to get.
As you can start off.
As I can start off.
Yeah, because like as we go through, you get a little livelier in our episodes. Yeah. That's why I
get warmed up.
Yeah, that's why I wait a little while and to throw you the ball, if you will.
So I get excited. Like I love recording, right? So I get excited. Mm-hmm. Then I come in, like we get all set up and I sit down and then I'm just sitting here for like 5 minutes waiting.
Well, and the logistics.
During that time, that's when I think my excitement starts to
wane.
I was going to say wane also.
Interesting. Wow. So
and then it comes back.
Okay. So you have like like spurts of energy.
I almost just need to be in the quote unquote green room.
Is that what you need?
Until it's go time.
Okay. First of all, this is the green room. Okay. Second of all, I need you here to position cameras. So you're just going to have to work on your, how shall I say this? Patience.
Again, I feel
offended.
A little offended.
And for those of you who listened last week, I told Brad that he was going to be launching today. So you get to be with us in that process. Yes. And also, just because my husband forgot to mention it. For those of you who have not left us a review yet, I want to encourage you guys to do so because, yet again, easiest way for you guys to support us, encourages us, helps others to find us. And, you know, our goal is to be able to impact marriages with the hope that of what God could do. So we would really appreciate that. Now, back to offense. No, I brought this up to you because I think you and I both know people and have worked with people who are easily offended. Mm-hmm. And so we want to have an episode because I think this really has an impact on like every area of your life. And also, I have been reading through with a group of ladies Proverbs. Okay. And I will tell you, Proverbs is hard for me to read like chapter by chapter because there is so much in every chapter. Mm-hmm. To me, I know this is going to sound really funny, but like if I just read a whole chapter of Proverbs, I feel like many times it's like what it would be like to be in an ADHD brain because there's just so much happening. It's like boom, 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 like all of these different topics all at once. You feel like you have ADHD, so maybe you could tell me. Proverbs is probably like nothing to you.
Yeah, I just like
you're like
reading the stories.
Wisdom bomb, not a problem. I like it.
I think I have it, but you're like your faith sister. One of your faith sisters says I do for sure. Okay. Like she was laughing when I said, I think I do. She's like, oh, no, for sure you do. I was like, okay.
Wow. Am I just that evident?
Thanks. I feel offended again. No.
Well, in Proverbs, there's a verse that I love. It's Proverbs 19:11. And it says, a person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. Mm-hmm. And I mean, just kind of contemplating on that scripture, it's like to one's glory to overlook an offense. Yeah. And I think reading that scripture too, it's like, so it really is something you could take offense to. Mm-hmm. You know, like it's saying like you can overlook this offense, but it's not something that's just insignificant. Like, you know, I think in our marriages, oftentimes we're looking at something and going, oh, okay, well, yeah, but you don't know, like I should be offended.
Oh, I hate that.
Tell us how you really feel.
And not just like that phrase.
I should be offended.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you hear this often?
No, but I just hate that mentality.
Right.
right? And I think that's where I'm getting at. Like, I just look, we all get offended. Like, I mean, you can't help but, you know, you're going to get offended at some point, right? There's nothing you can do about it. I don't like that presumption, basically. I mean, I'm trying to think the last time I truly was offended. I clearly was joking with you right now. Yes. Like, it doesn't bother me. I can't right now immediately think of the last time I was offended. I mean, things bother me. Right. But like, I feel like there's like, oh, that bothers me. And then there's that offends me. You know,
I like how your voice changed.
It has to. Like, that's the voice of the person that says that all the time. Like, that's what
First of all, always feminine. Wow.
I didn't say that. It could be a dude, but that's his voice. All right. No, there's things that bother me, right? Even if someone says something to me that's to me, right? Like, there's things that bother me. More than not, though, I take a lot of things as something to learn from, just because I'm not the super wise guy. It's just because of my experiences and
I was going to ask you that. Do you feel like that is more of a learned reality than a natural instinct?
Yeah, absolutely, is a learned reality. I think. I don't think it's natural to someone tells you something and I think it's natural to take it to the level of I'm offended, like I can't believe you would say that, you know, these things. And there's hateful people out there that will say hateful things to you. Those people don't offend me at all because I don't, like, who are they? You know, and not to get, I mean, I don't know how I'm getting, but like, who are they to control my emotions, to control how I'm going to feel when I walk away? Like, this is, you know, I heard this one podcaster, and he was saying, he used to be a preacher, and I think he still, you know, preaches every now and then, but he was saying, you know, like, I think preachers probably get the most critics, right? Any speaker, right? But especially preachers.
Any public figure,
but especially preachers, right? Because it's, I mean, you're hitting home, right? Like, close to home all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
And people are like, well, you should be perfect.
Like, I'm sure our pastors heard like, oh, that offended me so many times. And he's not offensive by any means. But you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I can't believe like that offended me. He's even made jokes of like, well, if that offends you, you can email blah, blah, blah. Or I didn't say that, Jesus said it kind of deal. You know, it's funny. But I think that pastors, especially any public figure, but this gentleman said, he said, I'll get criticism. I can get bad criticism. But who's it coming from? Right. You know, there's people in my life, my circle, and even a little bit outside of my circle, right, that can speak to me. And I know they're not coming from hate. And I know they're coming from a genuine place, right? Those are the people I can listen to, or I'll let myself listen to.
Right.
Some random guy that, you know, comments on a reel of something that I said, you know, and tries to get at me, like, what?
You're like, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Like, you know, like, I'm not going to let you speak into my life.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get to, right? You know, and and I think that's where this whole attitude of offense gets, you know, it's a weird thing.
Well, number one, I think that it is easy to start living in like a position of being offendable in a marriage, because especially if there's some level of like, I think if people have felt disappointed many times, then you start to look at your spouse like just through that lens of failure, through that lens of disappointment. And so it's almost like you set yourself up to be offended in that process. Almost like, there you go again. There you go again. Like, that's the thing that you're doing, and I'm offended.
Is that offended, or is that just disappointment?
I think it can go from disappointment to offended really quickly. Like, I could be disappointed and like let it go. When I'm disappointed and I can't, I become offended.
Because offended is like you're taking it as a personal
attack on
right?
me.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, and now I'm just like, when we're offended, right, we then go to, various places, like depending on your personality, right? But a lot of times it can easily go to bitterness. And then individually, how that impacts you, right, is like bitterness, man, is like a weight that you carry all the time. But I think that there's steps to it, like, yes, unforgiveness and offense and all of those things lead to bitterness. And I think like the goal in all of this is that you can catch it before it becomes this deep seated thing within you, that you begin to live that out in every area of your life. Because the people that I know, like, I mean, you and I have had a conversation about people that you can see that almost look to be offended, which is a weird way to say it.
Yeah.
But it's like they walk around with an air about themselves, like, you're going to do something that's going to make me upset.
They're ready to be offended, and then they're ready to, plant the flag, and this is the hill that I'm going to die on. Those.
But I do think it's either that and or they fester in it, even if they don't say anything to you.
Yeah. But I know what you're talking about, because those... I get annoyed by that because like, so here's the way
this is you. Brad's annoyed by you.
Yeah.
So stop it.
Here's the way you could see those people a mile away, and I just don't want to engage in conversation with them.
Well, because it also feels like you cannot, when you are easily offendable, and please don't check out by us just saying like, oh, that's annoying. Like the reality is we all have this tendency in us to go towards annoyance.
Well, and I'll kind of, like, I get bothered by a lot of things for sure. Things annoy me. Absolutely. I'm a human, and I do get offended. Like, there are things that will offend me. I cannot think of one right now. I'm sure you can come up with something that you probably hit it on the head that offends me, right? But I don't hold it.
Yeah, there is a distinction.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's like, oh, okay, well, that was offensive. And then just, it kind of like, as soon as it's out of my view, I'm like,
well, that's what I was gonna say about that is, if you are easily offended, in all honesty, it's difficult to have a relationship with you.
Absolutely.
It really is. To get close to someone who's easily offended is difficult.
Well, think about it. You're walking around on eggshells because you don't know what could I be doing that might offend you. What's going to offend this person? And then because you're doing that, you can't be yourself. So like I don't want to offend them, so I guess I'm just going to be quiet. I've actually said that in my head. I mean, as I'm saying that, I've actually literally been in situations where I I don't want to offend them, so I'm not going to engage in conversation. Yeah. Like, if they ask me a question, I'll answer it, but it'll be very shallow, because how's the weather? Yeah. What it says and communicates to someone else too, is that you don't actually want to know me very well. Right. Like, if you live and you're easily offendable, like, people don't want to develop that relationship with you because, number one, you always do seem to come off, like, okay, I'm upset with you. But then it's like, well, you don't really want to know me anyways. Yeah. Like, you don't actually want to know my heart. This is where things can get so dangerous in a marriage. Absolutely. Right? Like, if you're living in always the lens of like, okay, well, I've been disappointed by you and now I'm offended by you and all these things, it's like, you are still sending a message to your spouse. Yep. Like, I don't really want to get to know you, or I don't want to be known, really. Like, it's just a weird. Why can't you talk it over? I think that now, like this age that we're in, there's so many things that I think people are overly soft. I don't know how else to say it. Yeah. Where, like, we want to be smart and you want to care for other people's feelings. And I will never go out and purposefully offend people. And unless that's preaching the gospel, then I can't help it. Right. But I'm not going to purposefully go out of my way to offend someone. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't think that's how you love people. You know,
So when Brad tells you that drives him nuts, he's not trying to offend you, just FYI.
Yeah. I don't feel that that's the way to portray love and the way to show people that you care.
That you follow Jesus.
Yeah. I don't. And again, if the gospel offends you, I will never apologize for that. Ever. And
Jesus said it.
That well, and it, you know, there's deeper reasons why that offends you kind of deal, right? Like I'm never gonna apologize for that. But for just the normalcy of day-to-day stuff or your beliefs, you know, and not your beliefs in your walk with Christ, but like even in that, there's certain things that people get offended about that aren't necessarily like a salvation issue and things like that. But just like relational things that we have. And I think people are overly coddled now you're seeing it where it's, you know, our kids, they don't get offended easy, you know, and I think that that's a great trait. And I think it's because the way we've brought them up where you know the truth, right? You know who you serve. There's going to be people that offend you, but it shouldn't be something that it's not the truth. You're not going to, you know, hang your hat on it. You don't need to, you know, overly think about it. You don't need to dwell on it. You know, it's just something that just happens because we're all human. But do you think that even the level of when people get offended is so low now?
Yeah, I think absolutely.
Like someone can, you know, a vegan could get offended because I order a hamburger at a restaurant and then they'll make a big deal about it. You know what I mean? Like they're getting, it's like they push this level of
like we have a standard for ourselves. We expect everyone to be within our standard.
Yes.
And if you are not, I'm offended by that.
Yes.
Where in reality, this is differing in so many areas of our life, and we choose offense at that, where it's like, you don't have to agree with me. That doesn't mean you're offending me.
Like, you know, going kind of in a comical way, right? But going back to like a vegan, right? I love meat.
I was gonna say, even the way you say vegan sounds a little offensive.
Well, because your bar is too low. Okay. Listen,
for the vegans that are listening to us,
if you want to not
sorry.
eat animal products, don't. That's more for me. Okay. But as I'm speaking, this shouldn't offend you. Right?
Correct.
Because you're not offending me when you tell me, hey, this is my choice. I don't do this because of this. Or maybe it's a health issue. I don't know. But I'm not.
It's like we don't give each other the benefit of the doubt anymore.
Yeah. And I'm not sitting there like, oh, great. Like now this guy, like he's going to constantly offend me every time I try to do, you know, I don't care. Yeah. Like you want to only eat vegan? Only eat vegan.
Great,
That's
it.
fine.
Yeah.
Like you made that choice. That's great. I don't care. And I think that's why I'm saying that there's so many words and so many emotions and feelings nowadays that have been something in the past that has been something on a higher level. And now it's like everything offends somebody. Yeah. You know, and it can get to that where that person that gets offended by everything, even if you're listening to us, right? If you're a person that gets offended by everything, like you need to really look at yourself. Like this is something you need to dive into in a marriage. Man, like I can't imagine being in a marriage where I'm so worried that I'm going to offend you with every action I make.
Yeah. Or on the other side, I'm anticipating you're trying to hurt me, even if you're not.
Yeah.
Right. Like I come into it with that, like, oh, I'm sure that this is going to be how you're going to be in this situation. I'm sure this is what you're going to say. I'm sure this is what you're going to do. And then, so you're afraid to offend me and I'm afraid that you're always going to offend me. And like, talk about a chasm that grows between two people, like friendship, marriage, whatever. Like this is the reality. If you are going to be easily offendable, then you are sabotaging what you ultimately likely want. Most people want true, authentic relationships that they can get close to. And if that's lacking in your life, you need to look at this area and say, is that one of the factors that's inhibiting that? Am I easily offendable? right? Because you're right. It's more and more and more common to see this in every, and I don't know if it's because you see this stuff on social media all the time or if it's just the reality, but I feel like in real life interactions, it's there too.
No, I think it's more prevalent now than it has been. And I don't, when I say the past, I mean like, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I think it's more prevalent now for sure.
Right.
Because everybody, think about, and I joke about it, but if you really think about it, people get offended over, I'm sorry if you're one of these people, but you get offended over the dumbest things. It really is, it could be to, I'm offended they don't have almond milk at the coffee shop.
I am a little offended by
how do they not have almond milk at the coffee shop? Like, that's what I drink. And, and they have a business, like they should have access to every, I was like, come on.
You sure see this now in like your political leaning. Right?
Absolutely.
We're offended over everything the other party is doing. And there's no room for the humanity that is within people's perspectives.
It's so true because no party's perfect, right?
No.
Absolutely not. But
that's why we have a king of kings.
Yeah, and there's a good from both sides. There is some good, right? There's some, right?
Yeah.
But when people get so offended about something, they can never see good coming from that area, right?
Or the sad part about it is that you don't see the good people.
Yeah. So like in a marriage, if you're constantly offended by everything that's going on, then that person literally just becomes the offense and they can do nothing good. And that's why I was going with like the political, you brought up political side. We see that now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if there's, 100% no war and the dollar's back and where the dollar should be and America's doing this and USA and Patriot and all this stuff is coming back or is back. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if everyone's living a better life. The people that are offended with the whole thing. Mm-hmm. They're not just offended because of like, oh, well, I didn't do this and they didn't do that. And but all this other stuff, no one ever looks at a totality of thing. They just see like, no, I hate that person. I'm offended by them. You're stuck in a marriage that maybe there was rightful times where you were literally offended, right? Like that's a horrible, that's a toxic marriage, right? It very toxic. I totally agree with that. But you're changing your marriage around. You're moving towards this. You're never going to move past the marriage that you really like. You're never going to get to the marriage you really want unless you can lay these things down. Go to that verse.
Exactly. It's like, to your glory to overlook an offense.
Yeah. Oof. And I understand, like, I could almost hear, right? Someone yelling back right now, like, okay, it's your glory to overlook the offense, but not every offense could be overlooked. Not, there should be something like, you should be able to bring this attention to, you should be able to do those things. And I agree.
Yeah, you should absolutely be able to have discussions and disagreements.
Yes. And it's all about how you go to them to talk to them, how you bring that up. And I think and I haven't studied this scripture like in depth, right? Like really jumped into it, right? But this to me is a self thing where, okay, that person offended me and that's a legitimate reason to get offended, right? The bar is up, right? The bar's up.
Yeah, you have a rational reason for being offended.
Logically, anyone in my shoes would be offended by what just happened. Okay. Now I can go and talk to that person like, hey, you know what? Just what you just did, man, that really offended me. Now, am I going to hold that? And that's what I feel that this is really talking about. I agree
with you. How you walk away from
I'm holding this offense and I can never forgive this person. Like, unless they can come grovel at my feet and then jump through all those hoops and then I can forgive them. Like, this is horrible. Like, I can't believe they did this. and got away with it. You know, all these things that you just hold on to and walk away.
Yeah, like the inner narrative that you're just like
absolutely
playing out.
That person might not even realize that they offended you.
So true.
That person might not even realize that what they did was offensive to anyone. And I think that that's where the healthy conversation comes into play. Where if I offend someone, I would hope you come up to me, not in a combative way, but be like, hey, you know what? Like, you know, that was kind of offensive what you did.
70 DMs from vegans later.
Yeah. Hey, I'm telling you, eat. Well, I mean, here's the only thing that offends me about the vegans.
Oh.
Is they're taking the food away from what I eat.
Okay.
I'm just playing.
Wow.
No, people don't.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't care. Your choice of food doesn't offend me at all. But you also have to be careful in this sense, and that's where I think that you really have to dive into the scripture, because you have to be careful of, well, what was it that was offensive? Is that something that's only offensive to you?
Right. Is it your wounds that you have?
Exactly. So picture we're speaking at an event, right? And, you know, do these things in your marriage and blah, 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 and, you know, all this stuff. And we get done and someone comes up like, hey, you know what? Like, that really offended me. Like, all those things you said really offended me. And it's like, well, it shouldn't. And if you feel that, it might not be offensive. It's a challenge, right? That you're feeling deep in you, this uneasiness. That's called conviction. That's not offense, right?
Yeah, no, it's true.
That's not offense. That's called conviction. And that's something that if you don't like it, like, you need to fix it. But, you know, when we're very careful, right? Everyone I know that goes up on stage to present the gospel, to talk to men, to talk to women, to talk to couples, they're very careful. Hey, and what am I saying is aligning with the Bible? Am I praying? Am I preparing? Am I doing all these things prior to me even writing this out? Am I following what God wants me to say? If you're checking all those boxes, quote unquote, I don't like saying checking boxes, but, you know, if you're doing all these things,
your preparation is there,
and your preparation's there, and someone comes to you and is like, I'm offended. It's like, no.
And then also the other side of that is recognizing, like, the humanity, like you mentioned earlier. So many times there are things that are done or said and somebody doesn't even know. Like, and we as human beings can't cater to every individual's personal wounds, right? And insecurities that have developed over your whole life. And so it's important to make sure that you look at that with a clear understanding, is that, you know, hey, I have these specific things that have happened in my life and that hurts me. Now, is it this person's fault that is the case? And maybe it is your spouse's fault that you have these specific wounds. And so it's important to understand that, okay, yes, I need to address that, right? I need to make sure that my spouse knows this is a repeated wound and I have to stand in truth. But I think, you know, this idea of, you know, coming in with offense, it almost feels like control. Like I'm able to, like, but it's captivity. Does that make sense? Yeah. Where it's like, it's a weird way of like, okay, well, I am preparing myself to handle this. And it may be a toxic way you're handling it, but it still feels like a controlled response.
No, you're not even necessarily a response. If you're walking around expecting to be offended, you're trying to control other people around you, and you're trying to control what they say, and
That's
you're
true.
trying to, and essentially you're all not just trying to control it, but you're trying to dictate. Like you're squashing the person side of it, right? The like human side of it, where people are human. Let them speak freely, you know?
Yeah. And they're gonna not say the right thing sometimes.
Yeah. And it could be a total mistake. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes they set out to hurt someone. And I get all that. But if you're going around, expecting this and prepared for it, yeah, it is. It's you think you're controlling, but really you're holding yourself captive, because you're just walking around in some weird it's almost like, imagine yourself, right? You put yourself in very dangerous, area, right? Like think of like the military, right? You're by yourself, you put yourself in a hostile zone. You're outside of protection, and you're walking around and you're expecting to get attacked. Like this is your life right now. So what your body does during that is it elevates itself to make sure that it gets as much information and you could process as fast as you can to see, is that a threat? Is that not a threat? Like where's the attack going to come from? Where's this? And that's not sustainable.
Yeah. So you're always in the elevated.
We had a psychologist come to the office, and they specialize in like this special operations world. And one thing that she said that kind of hit all of us on the head is because like, we're not going out into war zones, daily, right? We're not doing, this, you think you fly overseas to a war zone and then you come back, it feels different, right? But what she was explaining to us is we're not gone a year. We're not gone, a month. We're not, we're gone a week, 2 weeks, a couple days here. And so you're going from your home, the, quote unquote safety, to out to conduct mission. And during that time, you're on a heightened level. Am I being surveilled? Am I being followed? Am I, what's that problem? Is that a problem? Where are they, all these things, like I have to plan these things out. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And the whole time, everyone that's with you is in this red, I don't say red like panicked category, but in this heightened level of awareness,
like threat level
of everything that's going on around you. Cause you're there for a specific reason, finite amount of days, and you have to get things done. Then you come back and you don't have time to start dropping back off into this level of I'm calm, I'm home, my
place
life.
Of peace.
Yeah, because as you start to drop back down, then something else pops up. So then you have to go back into that heightened level. So you tend to stay in this heightened level all the time, and it's not sustainable. It's you burn out, you lose relationship, you become bitter, you become negative, you become this person that sees only bad,
only threats,
threats. You, it's not healthy for you. Like physically, it's not healthy for you mentally, all these aspects. You'll fracture relationship over and over and over because of this. So that whole example, that's that person that's walking around expecting to be offended.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. They cannot
sustain that. They're going to destroy all the relationships that they want. They're going to destroy because they're waiting to be offended.
Yeah.
They cannot just have fun with someone. They can't just laugh with someone. They can't even share what's really going on or deep things because they're like, I'm going to open this up and this dude's immediately just going to say something that offends me, and it's a captive place to live in. You're not free. You're not, the social justice warrior. You're not this what you think you are. You're essentially a slave to that.
Yeah.
And
it's like you're just building walls,
Absolutely.
like every offense is like a wall that you build up, and it's a barrier. And even looking at this spiritually, I think when we live this way, we're doing the same thing in our relationship with God. Like we're not trusting him to be the defender of our heart, the healer of us, like that aspect of knowing that, even if somebody has done or said something that does offend, ultimately we have a defender. Ultimately, we know who we serve. And when we just constantly place ourselves in that position, we begin to fracture even that spiritual aspect of our life, right? Like the relationships, we build walls, the relationship with God, like we build walls. And it's like, even though the people that I know that are easily offended are the people that often desire personal connection more than other people. And that's what's so heartbreaking.
Yeah. I mean, you're human. You're not meant to do life alone.
Right.
So there is this longing of relationship. I want a relationship, or this, they see other friends, they see other people that are friends, other relationships that are being built, other marriages that are thriving, and they want that, but then they're sabotaging it because
it like seems unattainable for them, and that in and of itself becomes an offense. That why does everyone else always seem to have everything that I'm wanting? Why is it that they seem to be able to have good community? Why is it that somebody seems to like that person, but they don't like me? Why is it, and it's just like, it feeds into this cycle that it hurts you. I think it's just like, I want people to realize none of us are above being offended. I think every one of us in some area of our life, especially, man, I'll point out this, like, you are offendable when it comes to parenting.
Oh, yeah.
You think you are above offense.
No. Let someone talk to you about
Let somebody talk to you about your parenting. Let somebody talk to you about the way that you raise your kids. Then you will know that you are easily offended. Okay? So this is an episode for every single person, because we all have this tendency. It's like, what'd you say about the way that I do? How do you think it is that I need to change and adjust and, shift my perspective?
I was just laughing because I'm just thinking, like, we have really close friends, and say someone is offended by something you make, right? Like, just this isn't good. Like, I can't believe you would even serve this kind of deal. Like, just this offense, right? Like, just, I can't believe you would even cook the whatever. And it's so funny because I have some good friends, and he'd just be like, well, you just don't know what it should taste like. You just don't know, but it's funny.
You mean like it was someone who doesn't like a flavor of something and they're like gross, like olives. Like olives are disgusting.
Yeah. Like, and then people will say like, oh, like, you're trying to serve me, I'm offended. You're trying to do that. That's what I'm saying. These bars are stupid right now, right? On every emotional level, right now in the present day, it's ridiculous, right? There's just, set too low or set too high. We don't have
a lot of grace for anything.
But they'll say something like that, and he's just like, well, you just don't know how it's supposed to taste.
Yeah. That's a you problem.
Yeah. Which is so funny in that context. But like, even let's take it to the parenting, like you just said, right? You don't know my kid. Like, we have 3 kids. We parented them. Yes, there was an overarching, commonality, right? Because we're parents. But there was also specific things for each one. And that's how they were parented, right? And also, I don't know if you told me the story, if I heard the story somewhere. I know I heard it somewhere, but I don't know if you told it, or maybe we shared it on an episode. Like, my memory is horrible. But this is a great example of understanding before you get offended. Speaking of parenting in particular, there's a story I heard, and this guy was on a train. I'm almost 100% sure it's going to be a train in this story. Okay.
Now it's a train, guys.
It might be a bus or a train, but either way, it's some kind of transportation in that area, not a plane, right? It's like bus or train. Anyway, this person that's telling the story, he's seeing this, right? And they're on the train, and there's these 2 kids, and they're like running up and down the aisle. They're causing a lot of, they're being kids, right? That are like at a playground, right? But they're not at a playground.
This was a message at church.
This was? Okay, great. Thank you for remembering where I heard this. Again, I'm probably going to botch some of this up, so sorry. But, and the parent is there, the dad. Kids are running around up and down, up and down, and down. And of course, people are getting annoyed. I've been there, where I'm sitting there like,
where are your parents?
Grab that kid, put him in the chair, right? And anyway, the premise of this is that they bring this up to the parent, right? And the dad is,
because people were trying to sleep, and it was like
people were trying to sleep, all this stuff, and the dad is looks like he's not doing anything, right? So they bring it up to him, and he's of course apologetic. I'm so sorry. And then it's like, I just lost my wife. And And the kids, you know, they don't realize what's going on. Mm-hmm. And they're just playing. So just letting them have it. Mm-hmm. And it's a good check, right? So those people that are getting offended, man, as soon as you hear that, like all of a sudden, you're not offended anymore. You're like, man.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Empathy
those
goes
kids,
way up.
like, I'm going to play with one of them now, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what's missing, right? That's the, you know, so yeah, you can tell someone like your parenting sucks because of this is what's going on, but you have no clue what's going on behind that, right? You have no clue at all. And yeah, maybe their spouse died. Maybe something else happened. You know, you have no clue why, right? Maybe there's something wrong with the kid. Mm-hmm. And there's like mentally, right? Mm-hmm. There's just, this is how he is, right? And
the struggle that they're navigating.
And the struggle that they're navigating, like you have no idea. And so you take offense so easily, but you have no clue what's going on, you know, because you just think about, it's all about me. Wherever I go, it's all about me. They don't do this, that offends me. They don't do that, of course they don't do that. That offends me. Like it's all me, and it's a horrible place to be. That really
is. I mean, that's a don't get offended by this, okay? But that, or
get offended by it. But it is that's conviction if you do. Problem.
But it is like that reality of when we live in offense, we live with a me lens.
Yes.
Like, and even if it's a genuine thing to be offended by, there is the reality that we have a choice to make in the offense. Mm-hmm. And so it is to your own glory to overlook the offense, right? And man, we get extended so much grace.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
By God. Like grace undeserved, overwhelming. And I think that's what it means is it's to this glory, right? Is that we get a chance to extend a small portion of what has been given to us. And that is an honor. Yeah. It's an honor. Now, yes, we're not saying don't have difficult conversations. Don't ignore Absolutely. The things that need to be addressed, but also like look at it as an opportunity to show something different to someone else, to show a different reaction, right? To foster the relationship instead of break it.
Well, and also being careful. So, you know, clearly we're Christians, right? And so say we go somewhere that's not a faith-based place, right? And something offends us. Well, okay. Like we chose to go there. They don't believe the same way we believe. Mm-hmm. They don't. And I'm not talking about going to like some, you know, place you shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm talking about just a normal, you know, secular place.
Well, right? Even like I'll bring up an example that, I mean, this is very basic. We'll bring it back to food again, right? But this, like we went to a restaurant at one point and you got served a fried chicken sandwich that was legitimately raw.
Oh gosh.
Okay. It was legitimately raw. Like when I say the funny thing about it is that Brad had eaten several bites of said sandwich before he turned it around.
Two bites on my chewing my third bite. And I'm like, it does not.
And he turns
right.
the sandwich around and he tells me like, does this look raw to you? And when I tell you guys, there was a physical reaction in my body when I saw that chicken. Like even discussing it right now makes my stomach feel weird. Yeah. Like that's how raw that chicken was. Yeah. It was fried on the outside and raw on the inside. Okay. And the fact that Brad had already eaten a couple bites. What I mean by like, obviously we could have.
Oh man.
Now I'm not saying like it was disgusting.
No, it's a great
disgusting.
Yeah.
But we didn't treat the waitress badly, right? Now, obviously, it's not her fault. They actually said they were not going to charge us for this and ended up still charging us for it. Now, I would stand by. I was like, well, I'm going to say something about this. You know, Brad's like, just let it go. Yeah. Just let it go. It's fine. They brought another chicken sandwich out, which we couldn't eat because that point.
I tried my hardest.
At that point, the stomach is just like, reject it, you know?
You know,
but we still chose in that moment to just be like, not angry at the kitchen, not angry at the thing. Not, I don't think it's a bad restaurant. It's like giving the grace in the moment to say, okay, this happened. We're okay. It's a mistake.
Clearly it was a mistake. You know,
I don't think you're back in the back. Like, give that guy the raw chicken. That's what he deserves, you know? Like, and I think it's a very basic example. And that's more of but it's also the reality of that we have opportunity to reflect the grace given to us, even in those basic examples, right? Even in those little stories that are just our daily interactions is when we get a chance to practice this.
Well, and that's, you know, I thought you were going to give another example, but you know, if it's, say it's like around here, there's a barbershop like on almost every corner, right? Like these local chains, right? And there's some, they look from the outside, right? They look like clubs, right? Not that there's scantily clad women inside there, but they look like clubs, right? They're vying for a clientele, right? And when you go inside, it's cool looking, right? There's like graffiti all over the wall. Like it's got this cool urban, you know, vibe to it. The music is horrible, right? It's not something that I want to be subject to, right? And the way I live my life, my beliefs, my faith, you know, all those things, I'm not going to go there, right? But in those instances, right? So say I go in and I'm hearing this music. The music offends me, right? I'm not going to go to the owner and be like, hey, dude, this music's offending me right now. Like, you need to change it, right? Because he's not, this isn't a faith-based place. Maybe it's not even considered quote unquote family place, right? And he's going to be like, well, and you can go get your haircut somewhere else, man. Like this is
I will say, and
I know, but those haven't been places like that.
Yeah.
They've been other places. Yes. And there's, you know, when we have a relationship now where we go get our, you know, the boys get our haircuts. Like, we walk in like, hey, can you change that? You know, and oh yeah, you know what? No problem. Change it. Yeah. That's different.
Even
right?
before it's usually, especially with the kids, like
but
our protection.
What I'm getting at is that I didn't walk in there expecting to be offended. But I wasn't surprised because I'm not in the environment that I want to be in, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not in that environment. So it's not something.
You're not going into a place that's claiming to be one thing and is another.
And it's not, yeah. And so that's where I really feel there's this fine line of that versus you have a friend and they do something and it's offensive and you're like, hey man, like dude, that, you know, that's offensive. You know, you should probably not do that. The way you come at it, the way you talk to them, that's out of love. You know, it's like a check, right? Hey, and that's not, you shouldn't be doing that.
And we should invite accountability.
And I want that because I don't want to set out to offend people. That's not my goal. Again, it's not my goal unless the gospel offends you, then I'm unapologetic about it. But my goal is not to offend people. Anybody. I don't care if I agree with you or not, like on anything. But I'm also not going to just pretend not to be me, you know, but if I'm doing something and my buddy, one of my friends said, hey man, you shouldn't do that. Like, why not? Well, it's kind of offensive. Right. And it's like, you know what? Thanks. Like, I won't do that. Same in a marriage, right? If you're trying to build this stronger marriage, if you're trying to do these things and your spouse does offend you, you need to talk about it, not in an accusatory way, not you always, you never, not in a degrading way, not in a father or mother talking to their kid way, but in an adult loving way where I could sit down and say, hey, when you do that, it offends me. I wish that you could.
It makes me feel this way.
Is there another way that you could do that? Is there another approach you can take, whatever it is? But unless you have that conversation, you're just going to keep getting offended. And the other spouse is going to be like, I don't understand what's going on.
And then the other side of that too is, I think if you are someone and if you see a reflection of this, as we're talking of like, man, I do have a tendency to be easily offended. And I think everything around us cultivates that, right? Is being easily offended is to make a decision too that, you know, hey, if you go have a conversation with your spouse, right? And you have that conversation and, you know, their reaction is like, what? Like, I had no idea. Like, I'm not trying to offend you. Right. And then you're continuing to have like these same conversations too. It's important that you also look and say like, am I just allowing myself to be offended repeatedly by something that's not meant to be offensive? Both of those things I think are important that we assess. Like, you need to have conversations. It's important. Right. But I would say like, I have a specific like thing I'm thinking of in my brain right now, just example wise, that there's some marriages that we know where one particular person is like, they live in that line of offense all the time. Now, from an outside perspective, seeing it, I'm going, why are you offended by that? Why are you allowing that to be something that you are now walking through the day looking like you have been just hurt in such a major way? And I saw that whole interaction, or I heard that whole interaction, or you guys explained it on a coaching call, right? And I'm looking at you and going like, that's not the one you carry with you. That's the one you let go, right? Like, this is an offense that you decided you are justified to carry, but it's holding you captive and it's hurting relationship. Both of those things you need to assess. Do I need to have the conversation, right? Am I walking around offended, but I haven't even given opportunity to somebody? Or am I walking around offended and it's a me issue and I need to overlook an offense? I need to evaluate, why am I so offended by this? Why am I allowing this to hurt myself, my relationships, ultimately my relationship with God? Like, this is a conversation that all of us need to be self-reflective about, because there's just no reason for us to walk around living in offense or living out what culture tells us is acceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, challenge for the week.
Don't be offended.
Okay. Don't be offended. There you go. Have it. There you have it.
Live
and
a
don't be
long
offended
life.
by the fact that I said that.
Yeah.
No, I also think there's an element of making a, like, I'm trying to think of the right word, because I want to say pre-goal. That doesn't make any sense.
Pre-goal. Decision?
Making a decision ahead of time. Thank you. Yes. I'm offended that you had to correct me on that. No, but making a decision ahead of time that I am not going to live through the lens of offense.
Yeah.
Just like, I think if we go into conversations and relationships and, you know, interactions in our day with that mentality, it sets us up for success versus just kind of like walking out going like, well, who's going to bother me today? Who's going to do something to me today? Yeah. Like, oh, I expected him to do that. Oh, I expected her to do that. Oh, I expected this failure. You know, it's like,
the world's against me.
The world's against me, right? And you will live up to that standard you set for yourself. That's the way that I would put it. And so go into it with an attitude of looking for the joy, of looking for what God has for us, and not being easily offendable. Mm-hmm. Like, that's my goal, is that I don't walk through life, you know, just wanting to be offended. Yeah. Like, I'm going to be, you know, the person who, like, what is the saying? The water off a duck's back, I think is the saying for it. Have you not heard that one?
I have, but I feel like you're saying it kind of weird.
I'm offended.
Yeah. Let it roll off. I think that's how it starts. Let it roll off like water off a duck's back. Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't say the first part of it.
Yeah, so you threw me off.
Either way, go into it with, I'm not going to be easily offended. Absolutely. Not with my spouse, not with other people. Like, I'm going to try to shine the light of Jesus and show the grace of Jesus wherever I go.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next week.